Hi, my name is GIsele Pires Mota. I'm piano professor at University of Brasilia, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about my postdoctoral research. Well, we all know that in the 20th century, the piano was one of the main source instruments for experiments in timbre, rhythm, and dynamics that can be exemplified in works by Henry Cowell, John Cage, George Crumb, Stockhausen, among others. However, in conservatoires as well as in universities, it seems that piano works practiced by students have stopped at, if most, half of 20th century. Learners are mainly exposed to the piano canonic repertoire from 18th to the 19th centuries, and the majority of these pieces are from Western Europe. In Portugal, as well as in Brazil, one may note that when playing national composers, pieces are usually from early or mid 20th century. It's possible that people still think that there is no great number of pieces for piano with more experimental approach. However, the first Brazilian piece that uses non-traditional piano features seems to be the second movement of Heitor Villa-Lobos' Baquianas 4, called Coral, Canto do Sertão, composed in 1941, in which he uses silent pressed keys in order to catch only the resonance of the notes. In Portugal, the first piece to use extended technique seems to be Jorge Peixinho's five small piano pieces from 1959, in which he asks for an effect of sostenuto pedal, mezzotasto, that's a double attack of the same note being the second one without sound, only catching the resonance and the silent depressing key. The lack of repertoire with extended techniques in music educational institutions expose the anachronism between piano educational training and the contemporary compositional practices. It's clear that the absence of contemporary music in educational institutions will result in its absence in concert halls and in existing media. On the other hand, if it is not heard in the normal programming of concert halls and media, it is not divulgated. It will not arouse interest in performers, researchers, and composers who are in the musical schools. So now we face a deadlock. We, as professors and teachers, need to include contemporary pieces, but how to get to know about such a specific piano repertoire? Where to start? Many works by Brazilian as well as Portuguese composers are unpublished, and manuscripts are difficult to access or not commercialized. Others are edited and published abroad, making it difficult even for musicians to know. The present survey of piano works with extended techniques was an initiative to contribute for the divulgation of this repertoire by providing info about its existence, employed techniques, and localization and duration of these works. The development of this research has two stages, one in Portugal and one in Brazil. From August 2019 till July of 2020, I was in Lisbon to complete the first stage, collecting Portuguese piano repertoire. From August 2020, from this year and on, this investigation continues at Laboratório de Pesquisas Pianísticas, Piano Research Lab at University of Brasilia. The first stage has taken 3 steps: data collection, data analysis, searching within all gathered works for the use of expanded techniques, and elaboration of a catalog with works for solo piano. Elaboration is still in finalization. Regarding the limitation for data collection, the piano pieces investigated were selected according to the following criteria: be a piece composed by a composer born in Portugal or in Brazil, or of proven and lasting musical career in either country, and contain extended techniques. The first stage in Lisbon had as the starting point for the investigation 2 references of Portuguese piano repertoire: Moreira's dissertation entitled Catalog of Contemporary Portuguese Music Works for Piano, a didactic revision proposal in the secondary course of specialized artistic education, in which the author presents an extensive list of Portuguese works for solo piano composed between 1890 and 2015. And Nancy Lee Harper's book, Portuguese Music for Piano, Portuguese Piano Music, a comprehensive work that made a census of piano works by Portuguese composers from the 18th century to 2013, encompassing works for solo piano, chamber music with piano, piano concerto, pieces for multiple pianists, including works with electronics and didactic pieces. Then, after making a combined list, I searched on internet in order to check the names, dates, contact information, and works of each composer. I have continued the survey of the Portuguese piano works until 2018 from websites Centro de Investigação e Informação da Música Portuguesa, mic.pt, Movimento Patrimonial da Música Portuguesa, mpmp.pt, the website from composer Miguel Asghimi, misomusic.com, Portuguese contemporary music publishers websites such as avaeditions.com, sketo.com, Score database application, Encoda, composers and pianists' personal pages well known for their works or performance of contemporary music, and the timing required for gather all these contacts info was larger than first predicted, given the difficulty of finding such information online, and in some cases, due to the need of contacting several people in order to obtain email addresses of some composers. Well, after bibliographical and online research, an email was sent to each composer with a list of their works and an answer to the following requests: to check works information, name, dates of composition, publishing, first performance. I asked them to add any work that was not in the original list and to refer to extended techniques used in any of their compositions. After an elementary analysis based on information provided by the respective composers and a reading of the score, the preliminary results a year ago presented at 4th International Contemporary Piano Meeting were that 34 out of 131 composers I have contacted and searched have written works for solo piano with some extended technique and electronics. And about 100 out of 520 listed works at the beginning at the research had some kind of piano extended techniques. In order to manage all this information, I used atlas.ti software. In it, I coded 42 individual types of extended techniques, and I was able to group them in 4 extended techniques groups. Now, the list has a total of 54 composers, summing up 151 pieces with for piano solo with extended techniques and or electronics. The list is in alphabetical order by last name, and the preliminary results presented today are concerned to composers with the last name started in A until composer's last name that started with letter P. The most recent considered output was by Jorge Peixinho. The entries have complete title and movements, if applicable, date of composition, publisher, date and city of publication, if published, or manuscript location, number of pages, approximate duration, and types of extended techniques employed. First, performance information, if premiered, recordings, instructions if written, and any other relevant information. The following results are purely quantitative and in no way relate to the supposed quality, compositional style, or technical difficulty of the pieces. The main goal was to have a list with information about Portuguese work for piano with extended techniques. And although the purpose was not to make data analysis, the following charts are graphics is presented in order to help interpreters, educators to have a broad view of the works and composers' output. I have decided to include 2 more categories: pieces for solo piano and pre-recorded electronics, that mean works that do not demand that composer's presence, and pieces for left hand with extended techniques. 75% of the works out of the 154, that means 113 pieces, are for solo piano with some sort of extended techniques. There are 36 pieces for solo piano and electronic, that means 24%. And 1%, 2 pieces are for left hand and electronics. As I mentioned before, for data management, I have been using the software atlas.ti. I coded extended techniques by unities and by groups of techniques. For instance, if a piece contains several types of cluster with arm, hand, or finger, each one was classified as cluster in general, as well as the specific way to play with arm or hand or finger, and so on for each specific technique and group. Regarding the most used piano extended techniques in Portuguese pieces, extended techniques on the piano keyboard were by far the most used, and specifically silent pressing a key and clusters were the most explored by Portuguese composers of solo piano music. The second group most employed was pedal extended techniques such as sostenuto pedal, followed by extended techniques on the strings, being the most used, the pizzicato. Concerning composers' output, almost 70% of the composers explored extended techniques but have chosen not to use electronics. 29% have composed works for piano and electronics, and 3% have written pieces for left hand and electronics. Eduardo Patriarca is the only composer who has production in the three categories studied: solo piano with extended techniques, solo piano and electronics, and left hand and electronics. The most prolific composer in the genre are Jorge Peixinho, 18 pieces, Christopher Bachmann, 13 pieces, Cândido Lima, 12 pieces, Clotilde Rosa, 10 pieces, and Amilcar Vasquez Dias, 7 pieces. Peixinho is the composer who most used extended techniques in the work for solo piano, which is probably not surprising for pianists who dedicated themselves to this type of repertoire. Amilcar Vasquez Dias was the composer who wrote the most for solo piano and recorded electronics, 5 pieces. Christopher Bachmann and Clotilde Rosa, two of the composers with great production in the team, do not have any piece for solo and electronic piano. Some pieces called my attention, and in my opinion, they deserve to be highlighted at this point of the research. They will be presented with no order of importance or valuation. For left hand and electronics, Tanca by Eduardo Patriarca and Sinistram Umbra by João Carlos Souza for left hand and electronics. The didactic work Aldeia de Pianópolis, 18 peças para pequenos pianistas atrevidos, Pianópolis Village, 18 pieces for cheeky little pianists by João Ferreira. And here are some examples of these fun and creative little pieces. Dice with another highlight I make is about unusual techniques. In Sucessões Simétricas by Jorge Peixinho, he asks for a very challenging extended techniques, revolving the right arm, keeping the elbow supported on a specific note, G sharp, and play with the arm from the elbow to the shoulder and still holding the G sharp key with the elbow. The only piece that I have found this kind of body action. He asks for to play from the elbow to the shoulders. And the estudo 4 para uma corda só, that quoting Francisco Monteiro, this piece is an incomplete work in the catalog of the works by Jorge Peixinho, and it implies a high degree of indeterminacy. This should be considered by the interpreter in order to reconcile the intentions of the composer, the technical possibilities of the execution, and the possibilities of the interpreter himself. Monteiro also emphasizes, among others, the primordial use of single string, the alternation between graphic writing and traditional, and the use of unusual instrument. Peixinho asks for a gaita, that would be a harmonica. And last, but not least, I couldn't help notice that out of the 54 composers listed, only 7 are women. The reason for such a small number of women who have explored piano extended techniques as a composer are certainly a deeper and more complex topic about music and genre. And obviously, it's not the topic of this presentation. However, I make this reservation since the piano has a leading role in musical education of girls. And the 7 women composers that explored extended techniques are Patrícia Sucena de Almeida, Constança Capdeville, Sara Carvalho, Ângela da Ponte, Maria de Lourdes Martins, Clotilde Rosa e Joana Sá. As a final product, it's expected the publication of a guide to Portuguese piano works with extended techniques. And I hope that this catalog could rise and be a starting point for other vertical research about piano pedagogy and performance practice. And concerning pedagogical purposes, the catalog may also be used as a reference for the creation or revision of piano degrees curricula, as to include more contemporary repertoire. Here are some of the references for this research. And if you have any question or suggestion about the subject, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.